Vash to welcome our guests.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you, President Lim. Tonight, we have quite a few number of guests, and I'll take their names, not necessarily in any order. We have Ren Shuing, guest of class. We have Professor Chua Hong, our speaker, Hong Choon, today's speaker. We have Mrs. Rachel Yap. Good to see you again here. We have Suzanne, the guest of Dr. Chan. We have Kevin Pang, the guest of Dr. Chan. Then we have Cristiano Giace, the guest of Francisco. And unfortunately, Mrs. Neeti Vij couldn't come because of the flight from India. There's some issues there. We have Dr. Yu Weng Chiu, the guest of Louisa Lee. Hi. We have Mr. Calvin B, the guest of Louisa Lee. Hi. We have David Lee, guest of Louisa Lee. Hi there. And Srinivasan, the guest of Anita. Yeah, I think he missed out today. Then we have guest Dr. Dennis Hugh, the guest of Mr. Mark. Yeah, thank you. These are our guests, and I'll take the names of the prospect members who are attending from the on Zoom, and some are present in this hall as well. Veena Rangarajan, Mr. Michael Mayer, Kanodia Prashant, Tinuk Di Kongde, Lenol Otsuka. Then we have Jun Dong. We have Julia Yushar. Sisi Go is here today. And Vimal Narayanan. These are some prospects, and some are already cleared by MCMD. Welcome you all. This is a nice meeting, and you all are free to ask any questions during the question answer session once the speaker completes this. Thank you, and welcome to the meeting. Thank you. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Membership Director Subhash. And now we'd like to welcome with a toast. May I invite the Toastmaster? No toast? Okay, sorry. We have a change of the program. Okay, we will not do the toasting this evening until dinner time. Okay, so yes, our time is short, so I will not read out the names of the birthday celebrants as well as the wedding celebrants, but we'll display it on the screen so that you will know about it. You can wish them and send them a message. I'm sure they will appreciate it a lot. So for today, of course, it's Gerard. And then we have the wedding celebrants for the 19th and 24th. So we wish them the most happy and blessed wedding anniversary. Congratulations to all of them. And now for the major project, as you all have heard it last week, okay, over Zoom. You know, it's going to be an exciting next year, 2022-2023 major project. And here to say it again and to tell you more about it will be President-elect James Lee.
Testing, testing. Can you hear me? It's on, it's on. Test, test. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, President, for allowing me some time to just address any concerns members you have received in your email proposal. as well as an email to explain what this project is about. And in my last presentation, we said that we're going to extend one more week for any members who have any questions to ask me so that I can address some of your concerns. I thank members for your support, especially those who have written to me to highlight certain things for me to take note of, and I thank you for your feedback. But more importantly, I thank you for your support, especially if you would like to make a contribution at this moment for the first 50K, please let me know. So I'm just going to exercise some wait time to see if there's any question with regard to the project. Any question? If you do have questions, please continue to send your email to me or give me a call. This is not the only time where you can ask questions. You can go back to your email and then look at the project again. And we'll be keeping you updated on the progress of the project. And just another update is that tomorrow, we'll be signing the MOU with Football Plus. And with the MOU signed, we will go on to start building the 2 7-a-side fields so that we can start the whole Football Plus program at the venue at Kwong Avenue. So with that, we'll be keeping you updated over the next few months, the progress of the construction, then followed by when the program starts, we'll also be sharing with you pictures of the students and the youth, the children, they are being trained on the fields. Okay, and hopefully before the installation or at the installation or the month after the installation, near the installation, we will run a football carnival if the COVID situation allows for us to visit the site as well as take part in some of the football program together with our beneficiaries. Yes. Okay, so we are looking at raising 150,000 for Football Plus, whereby we will be looking at building, constructing, or rather, there's a piece of land that Boys Brigade has received from the government, and they have signed an MOU with Football Plus to allow them to run their football activity that has basically a few programs like Champions Unlimited, whereby they look after young children and youth from the underprivileged family through a values program. So that will be about 200 hours of contact between the Football Plus and the children and the youth. Another program that they're running is to train 60 coaches on mental wellness program through football. So that's also another program that they promised to run, or rather in the MOU they stated they will do with the donation. And on top of it, they will also be looking at training 80 youths on this mental wellness program through football. And these youths will bring back this program to their own respective school. Likewise, the coaches that we train, they will also bring this program back to the school. And then because they are at the Boys Brigade, the site it belongs to Boys Brigade, they will also be working with Boys Brigade and many other organizations to bring forth the program, the Stay in the Game, which is the mental wellness program, to other youths that come for any camps or any activities over at the field with them. So all in all, we are looking at about 2,000 to 3,000 youths that will actually benefit from this whole building of 2 fields, as well as the operational costs for the programs to be executed over that 1 year. So in the MOU, we also allow for Rotary to subsequently extend if we would like to. So that will allow us to continue to work with them if we want to. And I'll leave to Dr. Chan and his board to decide whether they would like to continue. So we left that in the option in the MOU. Basically, you will be seeing a lot of things. Part of the MOU, I'll give you a little bit more details, is that we are hoping to make footballs with Rotary Club logos on it. The jerseys and all that will also have Rotary Club logos. So that will give us also some form of recognition and publicity of the club, to also let more people know how we have worked with the Football Plus to benefit children and youth in this area. Any other questions? Okay, so feel free to contact me if you need more information, and I'm glad to answer anytime should you have any more queries. Okay, with that, I'll pass this time back to the president. Thank you very much. So I will just say that proposal of the project after 2 weeks of situation. And I call members for your support.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, we thank PE James for thinking through the project early so that we can start the ball rolling. And we're going to form all of you up into teams of 7 aside. Okay. So some of you will be playing football with the kids at some point in time. All right. So now we'd like to move on to the next segment of our meeting. Okay, and that would be the World Understanding and Peace Day. Let me just share the screen. Okay, so next week, it will be a physical meeting and we will be celebrating the 117th birthday of the Rotary. Rotary was founded on the 23rd of February, 1905. And we, every year as Rotarians, celebrate it and we call it the World Understanding and Peace Day because it's really what we do. Okay, using our vocation, using whatever talents we have, we are building bridges, we are changing people's lives, and we call it World Understanding and Peace Day because this is really what we do as Rotarians. So on the 23rd of February, all 23 clubs in Singapore will come together at Marina Bay Sands to celebrate this. And we'll be there with fellow Rotarians. Some of you who are new Rotarians have not met any Rotarians outside of our club. So this would be a great opportunity for you to get to know some of them. Some of you, although new, have actually played a significant role in the district, so you know some of them. But for those who had not been able to do so, join us and you will see how different clubs and different people react. The cost will be at $60 per pax. Okay, the QR code is here now. Please take out your handphone, scan it now. Okay, take as many tables as you like, but we have limited space. We only have 100 pax. 100 pax means that 23 clubs with 100 pax, it will go very fast. Okay, the other clubs are already starting and coming in with their numbers. So we sent it out and they are also sending it out. So do join us. We have options, vegetarian, non-vegetarian. Okay, so as usual, safe distancing will be at the foremost of what we are doing. We will be seated 5 to a table, spread over 2 ballrooms. So in each ballroom is only 10 tables. Not very big, not the usual World Understanding and Peace Day that we always enjoy where there's huge crowds, but this is what it is. Okay, we thank you for your support in advance. All right, now we are moving on to the next segment, and which is very exciting because as we move, okay, as grow as a club, we always need new members to come in, give us new ideas and refresh us. And with that, I call upon Director of Membership, Subhash, to come forward again and introduce our new members.
Thank you, President Lewis, for giving this again opportunity to introduce 2 guests tonight. And I'm really privileged to introduce 2 young guests, not the would-be Rotarians, if I call it. Can I call CC, go first, please. Could you join me here? Welcome, CC. Welcome, CC. If I introduce CC, I'll take a lot of time to introduce her. I'll make it a little short considering the time. CC is, she has done her master's from Columbia University. Pick it up. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Yeah. As I was saying, the CC has done her master's from Columbia University in public policy, finance, and at that degree gets into a full line, you know. So she has done a fantastic studies from the Ivy League College. She is Singaporean, and she has done a lot of chartered courses with the finance related, I'm sure. And her profession per se, what she is doing is a legacy planning, you know. So basically, inheritance and all those things, she's involved in those kind of activities. In addition to that, she has written a book, which is award-winning book. I was surprised to read that. The name of the book is, correct me, Wealth Management Isn't Just for Rich. So that could be interesting book for us to read also at some point of time. Other than the academics, writing books, she has in young days, she has produced her own CD for music, and she's avid dancer, ballet dancer, choreographer, and I'm sure she will add value to the club, and we all will be benefited once she's inducted in the club. Thank you, Ceci. May I call upon another young guest? The guest today and would be Rotarian, Jun Tong. Jindong, welcome. Jindong is again our Singaporean in the field of business and finance, property, equity trading, and all sorts of finance related activities. He's graduate from Nian Polyclinic, and he has been doing a lot of work. The hands-on these days, you find a lot of youngsters involved in the equity and creating a lot of wealth for the industry. He's a bachelor. He has a lot of activities. Again, if I talk about him, again, I need a lot of time to talk. But primarily, he is involved in a lot of physical activities like cycling. He has been joining me many times early morning for cycling. He's a avid piano player. Another thing, Muay Thai as well. That's another interesting thing. Very important part of his personality, which I was amused to read, is that he is a Toastmaster, is part of Toastmaster Club, and primarily focused in creating humor and things like that. So I think one of these days we'll see he entertaining us and making us laugh in this club. So this is what short I'll say, and welcome, and I'll leave it to floor to President. Thank you, President.
Wow, so much to learn from these two young people. Dancing maybe, but Muay Thai, I think yes. Muay Thai. Okay, yeah. But anyway, this is what we really need, right? I mean, as a club, I think Dr. Chan is already looking at you and he's sizing you up. Potential board members. Okay, so we'd like to thank the two of you for coming forward to join us in this very meaningful journey in Rotary. Fellow Rotarians, it is my privilege and pleasure today to welcome into our membership Ms. Cici Goh and Mr. Ng Jun Dong, who were proposed for membership by past President Mark Wang for CC and Director Subhash Pitmani for Ng Jun Dong. The proposals have been reviewed in accordance with the Constitution and bylaws of the club. CC and DJ, or JD, as you would like to be known in the club, we now proceed to admit you into membership in the Rotary Club of Singapore. You have chosen for membership in this club because your fellow members believe in you to be a leader in your field and have qualities which will allow you to carry out the work of a Rotarian. In electing you to membership, we are doing more than taking you into our fellowship. We are making you a trustee with us of Rotary's ideals. Knowing you to be a Rotarian, the world will henceforth judge Rotary by your conduct. Membership in Rotary is an honor and privilege, and every privilege has its corresponding obligations. You have agreed to accept the responsibilities attached to your membership in this club and to obey this club's constitution and bylaws. One of the special obligations of membership is regular attendance at the weekly meetings and the monthly service committee meetings, and also participation in the club projects and activities. This is the primary method of fulfilling the principles of service and fellowship, and also a way by which you represent your vocations. So CC and JD, the ideal of Rotary is service. Our principal motto is service above self, and the object of this club and all Rotary clubs worldwide is to encourage and foster this ideal as a basis of worthy enterprise, and you are to share in this effort. So for the rest of this Rotary year, which is just a few months, but then you will have a choice to choose again. Okay, vocational service, okay, for CC, okay, and your director is here, Sonali. For JD, you'll be community service under Director Peter Brock, and your mentor is Jimmy Wee. For CC, your mentor is also here on Zoom, and that's past President Philip Leong. Both are past presidents with a lot of experience, so you will be very ably guided. So your mentors will guide your assimilation through the service committee. And there are many past presidents. There are many who are not past presidents, but very experienced Rotarian. Get to know all of them. So for CC, your classification will be financial services, legacy planning. For Jundong, you will be under the classification of equity trading. And as you represent your vocation, it is of course your duty to tell us about your vocation and to bring the ideals of Rotary to your business and profession. So now, by the power vested in me as president of the Rotary Club of Singapore, I declare you to be active members of this club. So we will now present to you the Rotary literature, as well as the four-way test and the object of Rotary. JD, congratulations and welcome to the club. Okay, this is for CC. Okay, so we have a picture. Yes. May I stand in? So now, everyone, please join me in giving another round of applause to our new members, CC and JD. I would like to first invite CC to just say a few words to address us, and followed by JD.
Good evening, everyone. Wow, I'm so excited. First time as a member. So I'll just be short and sweet. I'm City Gold, lieutenant of Fireside, Mark, and as a Rotarian now, I will do my best and use my strength and positivity to help the people in Singapore and out there. Thank you.
Good evening to everyone, fellow Rotarian. My name is Choon. You can call me by my initial, JD. I joined Rotarian because just 1-2 years back, there's this quote that strikes me. It's by this Hong Kong singer. He says this, 学到的要教人，赚到的要给人, which in English means whatever you learn, teach it to others. and whatever you earn, give to others. And I believe that's the spirit here in Rotary Club. That's why I'm here, and I'm happy to meet you all and serve together. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, CC and JD. Please take your seat again. Thank you. And welcome to the club. And now, the moment that we also are waiting for, and this is the reason why so many of us are here. We are here to hear Professor Chua. So may I now invite Rotarian Uttam to say not so few words. I believe there's a lot of things to say about Professor Chua. Rotarian Uttam, please. Here.
President Lewis, fellow Rotarians, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another hybrid meeting when all of us are in this beautiful Churchill room of the Tanglin Club, and many at home who will also have the opportunity of listening to and participating in this so-called fireside chat with Professor Chua Hong Choon, an expert on the handling of persons with mental illness. One of the first things that comes to mind when we talk of mental illness is stigma, the biggest scourge in our society associated with mental illness. Until recently, the tendency was to keep the mentally ill away from the gaze of the public and the society at large. One of the better features of the pandemic has been the highlighting of the many situations that have brought out the need for better work-life balance, people having more time to think of themselves and their circumstances. Our very eminent personality sitting in front of me at the moment and who will join us at the table in a few minutes is Professor Chua Hong Choon, who is the CEO of Teck Puat Hospital and the Yishun Health Group. He was formerly the CEO of the Institute of Mental Health. And I'm sure he'll talk to us a little bit more about this. He's also the Deputy Group CEO, Strategy and Transportation of the National Healthcare Group. A psychiatrist by training, Dr. Chua is adjunct professor of the Lee Kang Chien School of Medicine at the NTU and the Yongloo Lim Medical School at NUS. He recently chaired the interagency COVID-19 Mental Wellness Task Force. Dr. Chua will talk to us about his new role at Yishun Health Center and also the collaboration that is developing between his organization and our Rotary Club on the Share a Pot program, for instance. And you might have heard just now about the new football program, which Rotarian James Lee spoke to us about. That's also related to some form of mental illness. So why don't we let Dr. Chua tell us more about the work that he does, and I'm sure it's going to be a fascinating talk. So please welcome Dr. Chua with our usual round of applause.
first of all, let me greet all of you a very warm welcome evening, and thank you for this wonderful welcome from Rotary, whom I had a very lovely chat with just a few days ago. I'm delighted to be here this evening to spend a few minutes to talk about something that's I'm very passionate about. It's something very close to my heart. As Peter was saying, I'm currently the CEO of Puat in Yishun. But for 25 years, I worked at the Institute of Mental Health. And my training and background is in mental health care. Today, I will take this opportunity to talk a bit about my current work and also my work and experience in mental health. And I wanted to explain how actually there is no such thing as health without mental health. And going forward, we should not consider these two as separate issues, as it has been for many years. Let's look at the slide. Can we see the slide? Yeah. How do we put that? This is
I think they get control. Yeah, control.
So shall we move the slides?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay. Right. Let me just introduce. So we talked about right. Let me just and then I say and I want to explain this because actually what I'm trying so we talked about me at Yishun Health, and then I said that there is a change in the way we think about healthcare today. The picture you see is what we call the Yishun Health Regional System. I talked about my hospital, and you see on the bottom side of the slide, there are 4 little entities there, and one of them is Khoo Teck Hospital. The very traditional way we have seen healthcare is the ill people come to hospital, and the hospital is where the doctors work, and that's where healthcare happens. That's a very traditional method, has served many countries well, including Singapore, for many years. But today we see that healthcare must branch out beyond just illness treatment. It must look at health in its entirety, physical health, mental health, spiritual health, and to ensure a population is endowed with good health throughout its life. And in this concept, we now realize that a hospital, which I hope you have not had the chance to visit too often, is really not the place where health happens. It is where illness is treated. So the concept of healthcare today, slide here doesn't seem to move. All right, okay, so okay, that's fine. Okay, this is what we call the healthcare concept today. I know it looks a bit confusing, but actually, what it tries to show you is that we, as healthcare professionals, no longer just see ourselves as people who cure illness or treat illness for people who are ill. We want to be part of an ecosystem, working with people from the time when they are born all the way to the end of life, supporting them in health, trying to help them to recover from illness, regain their strength and their resilience, and to have fulfilling and long, healthy lives. So it's this concept that has changed very significantly. So this picture shows how we conceptualize today. We call it the river of life. We want to enjoy good health in our middle age, and even as we age. And actually, many of us have this wish that we can leave. Now, that is a dream that many people have, but we are starting to see that without some work and effort, it doesn't happen that way. In fact, we are starting to see that our population are getting ill quite young adults are becoming cholesterol problems. They start to have heart issues. They start to have neurological problems. They don't seem to be able to maintain and sustain health. And eventually they end up having multiple episodes of illness, which requires them to be in a hospital. Now, this is the concept of health that we're trying to avoid. because this is not, we believe that with technology scale and with understanding of well-being, we so much more help. Let's move on. We are looking for ways to enhance and strengthen health and well-being. There is a promise there, but we must go beyond that. We must look at how to help people age well, to prevent the onset of illness. People who have early illness should be allowed a chance to even reverse their conditions. Now the science is showing that for diabetes, for example, pre-diabetes is a reversible condition, and we don't necessarily have to progress along the way. Many other people have had to. This is an example of some of the work we do. We try and engage seniors who may have come to our hospital for hypertension, but we try and engage them in activity and back to life called Olympics. And we try to encourage them to reverse that pattern of lifestyle and diet that starts chronic diseases and takes them down that slope. Next slide. The next slide really just shows our many partners that we have in this effort. Because of course, from what I have just said, you probably realize that it doesn't take armies of doctors and nurses to help people in health. Actually, it requires other people in the organization and community to participate in health and well-being. The next slide actually just shows you the many partners that we have. Go to the next one. I wanted to show you a partner that we very much because you're our new partner from last year. And that's you, Dr. S.L. Chan is president. Just a few months ago, all updates on this project. I'm pleased to let you know that actually this project is one of these concepts that has materialized and become real in trying to help people, older people, to stay healthy and to avoid illness. It encourages not only physical health, because the concept behind this, I'm sure you know, is to bring people from a community to meet together to share a healthy pot of soup with proteins, and then after that, to encourage social development and interaction amongst the seniors in the community so that they can support each other over mental health issues, and then take them for a bit of an exercise for walking so that basically after they ingest the protein, they're able to build muscle. Now, all this is very much needed, and we need partners in this area. And this is what we are very excited about, this collaboration and partnership with Rotary Club of Singapore. I wanted to let you know that the fundraising has gone ahead much faster, and I think we are pleased. And we were just informed that I think we hit the target already, and that's very exciting. And in fact, we can move on to the next stage of the project, which is selecting the site. And I talked about the site in Bukit Batok, the foundation of Rotary Clubs of Singapore, which is at the Caregiver Center at Bukit Batok. And so this is something about the future of healthcare. Yes, there will be hospitals, there will be ICUs, operating theaters, healthcare. Too loud. It's echoing in the Zoom. The future of healthcare, little further. Okay. Can you hear me in this room? Okay. So the future of healthcare really is about partnering our communities, our patients, their families, and organizations in the community to support people in health. There will be people who fall into the illness, but we need to also help them to recover very quickly. So this is where many of us, many of you, and organizations such as the Rotary Club can look for areas that can contribute to the health of a population. Next. Can you go to the next slide?
Can this be controlled from here?
It's all right, not to worry.
Now, I think I should move on. And first of all, the program we have been doing for many years, and we're very excited to partner with Rotary Club of Singapore to do this next branch of the share report. Here, I'm going to talk about mental health, and there's a link between mental and physical health, of course. Next slide. Yeah. I can control, yeah. All right, that's very good. Yeah. So I think a lot of interest there's been a lot of interest in mental health, as Dr. Uttam has said, and I thought we should start. And you said that COVID has unearthed a lot of the issues. I just wanted to bring us to before COVID times, and if you remember these times, this is 2019. Seems like a lifetime ago, but actually even then, I think you and I and people who worked in mental health were realizing that there was an issue that was developing in Singapore. At IMH, we had done several epidemiological studies to look at the prevalence of mental illness. And between the 2010 study and the 2015 study, we started to see a trend of increasing mental health problems. And this bore fruit, and you can see that, people are starting to see, even in 2018, that people have to have more problems and worries about mental health issues, and even starting to affect mental health at the workplace. And our studies show that unusually one of the more common mental health problems in Singapore is obsessive compulsive disorder and anxiety and depression. So what happens when COVID comes along? If you go next. Do
you know how to move it from here?
Which slide is it? Okay, it's moving very slowly.
Yeah, it's a bit of a lag.
Yes, a bit of a lag. Well, is not unexpected. COVID compounded the issues of mental health. And I think we don't need reminding that we are in the 2.5 years now of COVID. And where has it taken its toll? Well, certainly at the workplace, because we have had such major disruptions at work. It has affected our families because the family structure has changed significantly with children being at home, parents being at home sometimes, all trying to use the same space for work, study as well. It has also affected professionals, such as teachers, as you would see in this clipping that we have taken out of the papers. I think the other areas that has affected mental health. Are you controlling the slides? No, I am.
What do you press?
The control should be here. Okay. And so people asked, how do we fare in Singapore? Are we better or worse off than other countries? These are questions.
Hello. What did you do? No.
Often get asked. So I thought I'd share you different tools to assess the impact of COVID on mental health. The end result was that I think we didn't fare that badly as a country. I think we had put in place quite a lot of measures to support the community and the public and children at school and people at work. So although the measures, what the percentages I told you just now were somewhat alarming, Actually, in other countries, they reported even higher figures of stress and depression as a result of COVID. Yes, yeah. We focused on what are plaguing our different populations, segments of the populations. For youth, it was anxiety about the future and stress over finances, worries about academic work and performance, understandably. For adults, a lot of it has to do with employment, had to do with the future of their careers and income stability, and whether they could provide for their families. For the elderly, as you can imagine, the impact of COVID was a lot around loneliness, social isolation, being able to navigate their way around social media and the use of technology. You know, when we introduced the Trace Together and things like that, a lot of older individuals felt left out, right? Of course, there's always the fear of being infected and being ill as well from the virus. Let me move the slides on a bit for this.
Keep pressing that.
Yeah, I've been pressing it.
Hold it. You have to hold it.
This is the adults problem. It's a lot of, I'm just moving them along actually. You know, I gave you an earlier PDF version. Do you think that might work better?
Yeah, no, back.
Yeah.
It's not just the old people, it's some of the younger people also have technological problems.
No, I think, is that the PDF you're using? I think we should use that. That seems to work very fast. Okay, yeah, that's fine. Okay, if you can move along, we just move along the slide, doesn't matter, just carry on. A few more. Put it on full screen. On full screen, yeah. Yes, next slide. So I wanted to share with you I co-led Ministry of Health because there were so many questions being asked. You know, what is being done? What can we do? Being in the ministerial task force to do a stop outside so that the area above the greenish side, we should talk about upstream work, really trying to support the general population, children in school, working adults, as well as elderly in the community. And then there's some what we call downstream work, you know, that concept of the river of life where people are floating down with having problems. And then we also look at strengthening existing mental health programs. Next slide. So just very quickly, I wanted to just show you that basically in each of the target populations, we found that there were various programs that have been done. So, for example, these are some of the snapshots of the programs that were put in by both the Ministry of Education and also those in the community to develop peers. Peers are, what we understand, young people supporting other young people, volunteers who may want to help and be counselors and to be able to support someone else who has a mental problem. And that's what one of the things that we've been doing in Singapore. Next slide. Next one. I can't see, yeah. So with the adult population, yeah. With the general population, with children and families, there are some existing parenting programs with children and parents already, and these were stepped up to put in a special additional support for mental health with these parenting programs. Next. These are some of the programs for youth And for working professionals, in fact, one of the highlights I wanted to make is that the there was actually the Ministry of Manpower advisory on workplace mental health. And so if you have not seen that, do download it. Available both at the MOM website, the information report for workplace mental health. Next slide. And I think the next slide shows about basically the programs that were put in place for the older individuals. The Silver Generation Office, which goes from door to door to identify seniors who are having health problems, were trained to pick up individuals with mental health issues. And then there was also community outreach focusing on awareness about mental health issues in the elderly. Next slide. The last set of measures that were put in really was clinics to GP clinics. We had advisories on how we should look out more for mental health issues, some mental health issues, and we should approach and ask them for help. Next. So next, the conclusion really from the work that we did at the task force showed us that actually there was so much more, as we said previously, not done, but a lot of organizations stepping up to provide additional support in mental health. There were some conclusions and recommendations though. We had 3 conclusions, one of which was actually that there needs to be better signposting. Because I'm sure if I asked you if you had met and knew of any of these programs, you would have said we didn't realize what it was. I really was. You can move on to the next slide. It's a recommendation slide. Yeah. So these are the 3 recommendations. Signposting is very important. And the other area is better training and more standardized training for professionals. This is the third gap C, which is if you are wanting to help someone and identify someone with mental problems, are we using the same set of materials to do assessments, and is it standardized or not? So I think that's what the next recommendation was. And the last recommendation, the first one really is that we found that because so many ministries and many organizations were trying to step up to provide mental health care, we should come up with an overarching policy and guideline so that everyone can be aligned with that. So, you know, this is standardizing so that there is not so much variation in the solutions that are being produced. So I'm going to end my talk by just reminding us really, how can we care better for our mental health? The next slide just shows you that this is a different time we are in, and I don't think to wind back the clock. And I said actually has brought about, for me as a mental health professional, so much more awareness and people's willingness to participate in mental health, and individuals willing to be more aware and conscious of their own mental state. That is a plus. Technology has increased, and we should use technology to help and outreach to people. So these are huge opportunities that we have. Okay, next slide. Nevertheless, we do know that COVID has brought about huge stress to our population, and we will need to help some of us who have not been able to weather it so well to recover from the stresses of this 2 years of COVID. So this slide talks about how we as a population are so COVID. We have been thrice vaccinated, and we have covered issues that we together. So if we are willing to talk about it more and talk about it in an unjudgmental way and just seeing it as a condition that someone that's close to you and me, and they're not other people that have mental health problems, it's we can have mental health problems, and we will be able to break down that stigma that we have. And the second one work on together is the concept of literacy. In my all these years, and I think what is depression to you? What is anxiety to you? We will realize that people have different ideas about it. It's particularly important because the younger people, the youth, they experience emotions and they are quite distressed. This drives them to unhealthy behaviors that worsens their mental state. So mental health literacy is saying, first of all, that emotions are normal, good emotions, bad emotions, and name the bad emotions. What is the bad negative emotions that you have? A lot of people don't realize and they cannot name them, they cannot identify them, and they just feel very terrible about it. And that's where the lack of understanding and help seeking occurs. Last slide. So usually I know this is my usual last slide. People always end up asking me, so how do we look after ourselves? What can I tell my son? What can I tell my children in mental health? Actually, you'll see the bubbles I put up there. It's not rocket science. It's actually things that we already do. It's just that we don't do it consciously, realizing it. We need to do some more of this because actually it helps our mental health. So things like really, eating and sleeping well. We talk so much about it, but I don't know if we actually do it. We allow the changes of working at home to disrupt our daily habits. Our work-life balance is disrupted. We talk about relaxation, but I'm not sure whether many of us actually do it on a regular basis. So these are habits that I think we can all work on together. And I must say, even if you do have a more severe mental illness, it can actually help you. If you have a better lifestyle, you have a better diet, you have more physical activity. There are certain practices which I think are more reflective. Things like gratitude and appreciation for others and self-reflection. These are things that we should, in our busyness in Singapore, spend a bit more time doing. And I think they will go a long way in supporting our mental health. And social interaction that has been so much changed and disrupted because of COVID. We need to learn, as we are doing this evening, I think, trying to get together and talking together face-to-face in a room like this and bring that back. And I think these would go a long way in restoring the mental health of all of us. So I should end there. I apologize about the slides going so slowly, but thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, Professor. We will be in a position to ask him a few questions, and he will be very happily responding to any queries we have. I had a long chat with him a few days ago when we discussed how we're going to handle this today. And I was very, very impressed by the way he responded to some of the queries and suggestions that I had. Before I open the floor, can I ask you one or two situations? We've been working as Rotary through our Interact clubs with the schools, and we've given talks to students on mental health and variations, and we've suggested some of the things that you've talked about are issues that we have drawn their attention to. Making it very clear to them that, look, by all means help, but don't act like psychiatrists and psychologists, because the main point is we want to get them to recognize some of the features that crop up with mental illness and perhaps discuss it with the school counselors and then bring them in contact with the students they feel that need attention. Now, during my talks and general discussions with students, what's come out is they've asked this question on one or two occasions, because in 1920, there was something like 450 suicides, of which about 30 were in the 10 to 19 years. age group. Now that surprised me quite extent. Well, it shocked me really rather than surprised me. Have you got any idea on if during the COVID situation, whether this number might have gone up, or do you feel it may have come down because of the work-life situation?
Yeah, you asked me this question, and I think first of all, the statistics on suicide are computed and published in the middle of the year, and so you asked me about 2021.
Yeah.
We will not have the official numbers until the middle of this year, which will be just in a few months. I wish the numbers stay low and they go down, but I am concerned that we should not be too surprised if it continues in this trend. I'll explain why. Because of course, I think COVID going on for 2 years and disrupting education and disrupting children growing up and socializing in school, the way many of us had the enjoyment of doing, has still not gotten back to normal. There's a lot of social distancing, a lot of measures. So I think kids have not had that ability to bond back, which is so important for children. And the other thing, of course, is we had, even before COVID, we had started to see a trend of increasing mental health issues in the younger people, which suggests for some reason that they're a bit more vulnerable. The numbers of suicides of young people are very alarming, but we need to put it in the context of the whole population. They always in the papers report it as a percentage, and that's very frightening. But you must remember, I think those of us here who work with figures and statistics realize that when numbers are very small, then in that same population, an increase of 1 or 2 increases that percentage, 1 year over year by a very large number. So I think we need to interpret the numbers with caution, but I think as a community, we should pay attention to our youth mental health. You talked about interact clubs.
Yeah.
Actually, I wanted to say, I was told, can I talk about this, Dr. Chan? I'm not sure the President and Dr. Chan may know about this, because I think we are in talks again about trying to do something from my hospital, KTPH, together with the Rotary Club and one of the interact groups. And I think one of our premier schools in Singapore, Hwa Chong, right? To try to see whether we can get some of the youth there to participate in a program that we can work towards improving mental health amongst kids. And the idea really is, we notice one thing that we've noticed over the years is that young people now are less likely to turn to a counselor or professional when they're having distress. They're more likely to go to a friend, or sometimes even as frequently they will go on social media because they have access to that. We don't know, well, this is just the way they communicate. So they are more likely to go to a friend. So the best person to train actually is the school counselor will be there. But if you have kids in the school who are willing to listen and provide a hand or a helping hand or a listening ear, a peer, this is something that they can be helpful. I heard about your program in football. It's great. Sports is a strong area. But sport is also an area sometimes where bullying occurs, and sometimes you feel people winning and losing occurs. And there's a huge opportunity to train and get people to talk about feelings. How do you feel when we've lost a game? How do you feel when you haven't played as well as the other kids? How do you feel when you let your team down? Now, these are good examples and opportunities that we can have to build into our system the knowledge and literacy and awareness and support for mental health for young people.
Can I open the floor for questions? Go ahead. You want to yell from there, or you come and talk to the mic? Sorry, we don't have more, unless you want to take this mic.
Okay, I need to get that now. Chua, thank you very much for a very enlightening topic you have shared with all of us. My comment is really more a suggestion than anything else.
certainly, a suggestion. Yeah.
Yeah, my suggestion is, we give a lot of ARTs, we give hand wash, we give masks to families, and we have
Yeah.
I think that's very, very crucial for the entire nation. The nation doesn't go the advice it can be distributed nation. To social media, both distributed families in Singapore, these are poor, very important.
Actually, can you tell Professor Chua to unmute?
While zooming in, can't hear it. Yeah, thank you.
All right. Now, this discussion took place this afternoon when I was driving my wife back from school. She teaches class 10, 11, and 12. That means 8. And she said, she made an observation as she sat down there, and she said, I hate to see the kids today. They are so depressed and they're so down. The grade 12 kids are not even happy to go to university. And earlier, they were so excited about it. Now, I take a cue from what you said, and I take a cue from what P.P. Perlita said. The amount of communication that we have received during COVID, I'm as an employer, probably received on an average 2 emails from MOH every day. You get more. Maybe the parents of such children, we know all the students that are there, and the parents are accessible on email. They should get a continuous barrage of communication on what to look for, what to be alerted about. You know, these concerns should be raised because many of the parents won't be aware of it. And then when the problem takes off, then it's too much of a catastrophe. So maybe some kind of solution should be sought at. And the Interact Club involvement is a great way to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. Screen time is considered one of the biggest contributors for stress and mental illness amongst the young adults. But there is also a mushrooming of app-based mental health support, which only adds to more screen time. What is your point of view on app-based mental health support in an environment where screen time is also a contributor? Thank you.
I think we do acknowledge that it's possible. So I think the crux of it is what are they using the screen time for? And we realize that there are certain amount of online activity that can be very unhelpful, very addictive, and not meaningful, are in fact harmful. On the other hand, as you just pointed out, we are also using the same technology to access people who may be having mental health issues. And in fact, there are some apps that are now encouraging. In fact, I work together with MOH on something called mindline.sg. Mindline, you just have a look at that, mindline.sg. When you go there, it's a very beautifully designed web portal, which entices you to talk a little bit about your mental health, do a bit of a screening, and in fact, there's a little chat box that you can type in, and actually it types and talks back to you based on what you have said. Now, so I think the answer to this is that I'm not sure if I mentioned this, but the concept which I work on is different strokes for different folks. There will be some young people who first avenue is to access help online, and we must make that available. The way when we are on the website that we like, and then you get these pop-up ads and things like that. There is your point again, whether we should use it, right? So we can use technology to also counteract the negative effects of technology. So we can have pop-ups to say, contact mental health, these are mental health issues. In fact, we have worked in Singapore with Facebook and Twitter, and they are putting out messages.
And in fact, they have got a system where they are looking for certain words that people are using, and that suggests that the user is having some mental problems, and they are popping up those suggestions for us for help. So yes, you're right. We can harness technology. We shouldn't. I don't think we should. It's not even possible to say no screen time for kids, right? We can't go back to that time. So we might as well. My personal view is let's go with the flow and use the technology for good, recognizing that it can be harmful at times.
Can I add something to this? In one of the talks that I gave to the Interact Club in one of the schools, I suggested that whilst we are involved with media and we've got a barrage of WhatsApp, etc., I suggested that maybe they should set that aside and look at the possibilities of talking to the person who they feel needs help, because communication via social media is not always the correct thing.
Yeah.
I think putting an arm around somebody and saying, what's your problem, makes more sense sometimes.
Yeah.
And I think that was quite well appreciated by the students when I mentioned this.
Yeah. We will need to have a mix of opportunities and access for young people who have mental health issues. Yes, for some of them, a personal one-to-one contact. We have been working in this area in mental health for several years, getting people who are on the road to recovery, who have experienced a mental health crisis and who have received treatment and are getting well. In fact, they are the best ambassadors, because you tell me all these things about mental health, and what do you know? You don't have this. But if you are listening to someone who has a mental health problem, and I said, I know, look, I went through this myself when I was your age, and this was what it was like. You get the attention, and people are. That's one way of doing it. So one of the other projects that we're working with is to develop people in recovery who are willing to become peers, specialists, to help other people on the road to recovery. Yeah, you have a question there, sir?
Yeah.
I have a very simple question, which is around the simplification of the method.
Okay, my question was around the simplification of the message that we have.
for physical health during COVID, it's fairly simple. We say, get jabbed, make sure that you're wearing masks, and if you suspect something, get an ART test.
Yeah.
And the message is simple, and it required a lot of repetition for that to sink through. Is the task force working on a simplified message for mental health, and which can be repeated often enough?
Yeah, that's a very good suggestion, and you're right. So I think we are. The task force is now evolved into an interministerial work group, and we're looking at different areas, and communication and simplifying messages is one area definitely. So in fact, we realized that one of the things that we didn't do so well is we keep coming up with different slogans and different campaigns every year. You know, would you believe that I would tell you that Singapore has been celebrating World Mental Health Day for the last 20 years? But can you remember, yeah, you do remember this, right? But can you remember any of the slogans that we said and what the catchphrases? Can't, because we keep changing them every year. So actually the idea behind this is to keep the same message, you're right? Keep it simple, repeat it ad nauseum, so people eventually get it, sinks into their consciousness. One of the campaigns that's ongoing now, which if I'm not sure you have known, any of you know about the Beyond the Label? Can only ask a few. But this is the work done by National Council of Social Service. In fact, this is the 4th year. This will be the 4th year, 3 years running of using the same campaign. It's always called Beyond the Label. And again, they have avoided the use the word mental. And in fact, it asks the question, it begs the question beyond the label of what, isn't it? So you should see this logo Beyond the Label, and people should pique your interest. And then it's actually talking about beyond the label of mental health problems. You should see me beyond my label. I'm not just depressive. I'm not a schizophrenic. I'm a person. See me beyond my label and go beyond that. And it gets people talking. And it's this concept that you're saying. We're trying to build on that in Singapore. And we hope that the task force will come up with a few more that we can use consistently simplified over the years and repetitive, so that people get a deeper understanding of mental health.
I think one of the problems has been that are we being over supplied or bombarded with slogans on not just mental health, but a whole range of issues? Are we therefore losing out on getting the message across? All right, any other questions? Yes. I think we'll have to be a little quick now because we are, I think people are hungry.
I think I want to echo that whole point about keeping the message simple. Maybe to highlight is that on dentists actually training sleep medicine. So we're seeing more children and adults alike, right, having more airway issues.
Well, they are breathing through the mouth. I think in our culture, in Indian culture from young, we learn to breathe, we learn to calm ourselves. Chinese, the qigong, again, the same thing. You want to breathe slowly, you can immediately physiologically change your blood pressure, drop it and calm. So I think one of the areas that we can look at is really on the breathing side. Mouth breathing is not healthy. A professor from Stanford U, Christine Gilmino, came as breathing alone. Yeah, maybe one thing for you to consider. Thank you.
Thank you for this. Okay, last question. If not,
Thanks, Professor. I have a very simple take from your one of slides, where you gave the details about global mental health. I was surprised to see a country like Vietnam, which has almost 100 million people. The parameters are far too lower, far too lower than Singapore. On contrary, the parameters for India are far too higher
than the Vietnam. So what is there something Vietnam is doing, which is bringing them such a good quality of life, despite being economically challenged, although they're coming over here. It is something we have to learn from them in Singapore, and India should learn, if you can elaborate that.
Just very quickly, yeah. So I think we put up a slide to show the difference in state.
We are looking at the differences, and we're looking at the positive variants. So obviously, in countries like Vietnam, whether they use different scales and reporting, etc., or whether they have lower levels of mental health because the population is quite different from ours. Possibly, maybe less urbanized. Maybe they have learned to manage stress on a better basis. We do know that for quite a while, they handle COVID quite better than other countries as well. So maybe that accounts for some of the differences. Thank you.
Okay, I think I'm getting lots of vibes saying, hey, come on, we need dinner.
Yes, so do I.
So, well, our speakers are leaving. Can we give him a big round of applause? May I say how delightful our speaker has been, and very, very positive in his comments. We as the Rotarians and our club are working in different ways in the field of mental health. And I've been assured by him that if we need any assistance or any advice, he will be more than happy to work with us on this. So may I request you all to please give him a big round of applause. I think dinner will be served soon.
Yes.
Yes, and we would like to now present to Professor Chua as a token of our appreciation, a certificate as well as a book of humor, or rather this is the version of Bank of Humor.
Sure.
Which is good for mental health.
Certainly.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we'd like to now thank all our members and guests who has joined us through Zoom. But dinner is without you, and we are sad that you can't join us. But we'd like to thank you and invite you to do join us physically next week at the Marina Bay Sands. And for now, I'll call a close to the meeting. But before that, one last slide to share. And that would be the speaker for next week. Okay, so the speaker for next week would be His Excellency, Mr. Hawazi Daipi, who is the non-resident representative of Singapore to Palestine, and also High Commissioner to Ghana. And he's from the Singapore Ministry of Foreign Affairs, formerly a politician, and now joining us next week to tell us. And this is very apt because it's World Understanding and Peace Day, and our Foreign Affairs Department are all hard at work trying to keep peace in the whole world. So with that, meeting is closed. Thank you. And for those who are here, dinner will be served.
Thank you, President.